Welcome to vanofaction.com, the van build series, and this is part 2 of the window trim sequence of videos. That's the second part. How can there be 2 parts for this? Well, when I was starting to research my van build, I spent a lot of time on YouTube, and there were 2 types of videos that absolutely drove me crazy. The first one was when you'd see, they show you a shot of an empty van, and they'd say, and today we're going to build our kitchen cupboards. And then they'd come back and they'd be all done. And this is where we keep our spaghetti. You know, they would show you absolutely no information at all between point A and point B. It used to drive me crazy. The second type of video that really got to me was the guy who has an absolutely spectacular shop, and every time he's got a job to do, he goes out and buys a brand new piece of equipment to do it with. I mean, who lives like that? It's absolutely crazy. So I made the commitment to myself that as I was doing my van, I would document it and I would share as much information as I could. I'd share the why, the how, the when, I would share all the troubles I ran into, the process behind the thinking of it, and I would just share as much information as I possibly could with the hopes that it'd be useful to someone else, you know. So if you find this useful, please give me a like, a share, and a subscribe by all means. But the window trim, it's only 8 pieces of wood, but every piece is unique, and every piece requires some skills that you can carry through to other parts of the build. And in this window trim, for me, it was really important because I wanted it to look like it grew there. I wanted it to look so good that you really didn't notice it. No one's going to appreciate how much effort that I went into to make my window look that way, because you're just going to look out the window at whatever you're driving past that you want to look at. And that's what it should be like. If it's done well enough, you don't even notice it. And so in the first part of the video, the part 1, I described the sequence of thoughts of what I was trying to do, and I've got the first 2 pieces fitted. The second part, we're going to do the other 6 pieces. You don't have to watch them in order, but you should watch them both before you start. And believe me, there will be skills in both of these videos that you'll be able to use in other parts of your build. So we're going to pick this up where we left off. Let's get started. Well, I messed up and I cut this sill in the wrong place. I made it too narrow, read the wrong side of the saw blade, and I had to glue that piece back together again. Not a problem, just a bit of a setback. And I while it's gluing and setting up, I thought I'd carry forward. The proper sequence for these bores to go on is the sill goes from side to side, and then the head will go from side to side, and then the 2 vertical pieces will come in between those 2. So the next logical piece for me to put on is this one. And but before I can determine exactly where this piece needs to come in, I have to have a good understanding of what's going to happen on the side. I have to have a good understanding of just how that's going to go, because this is a part of the van that has a real curve in it. My gosh. From top to bottom, I bet you there's a 1/2 inch curve, and I'm not going to follow that curve. I'm going to make this piece straight. I know but it has to go from this corner to this corner relatively straight. Down at the bottom, I've got a little bit of wiggle room with just exactly where it terminates, but up here, it's got to be exact. I can't have this piece, I can't have the top piece inside where this piece is going to be. So I have to determine where this joint is going to come as it rises up to meet this one. That'll help me understand where I need to put this piece. So I've done a little layout work, and if I put a 3/4 inch block on this side, this piece will fit in exactly where I want it to. Well, here's something that you gotta watch it. I thought I had this all figured out, but when I put this piece on here, I have about 3/16 of an inch at the bottom between the piece of wood and the window frame. But up here, I've got almost 3/8 of an inch, almost 1/2 an inch at the top. So the side, this metal part of the van isn't straight up and down. It leans a bit. The window is straight up and down relative to the panel at the top because it looks square against the panel. This freaking rib leans a little bit, so I'm going to pull this plywood off of that rib enough to make it look straight. Otherwise, it'll look, the window, the opening will be all cockeyed. Got to fix that. Boom. It's okay now. What I did was I just went to the table saw and cut a little packing piece of plywood. And you want plywood because, again, plywood has the different grains going in opposite directions. So no matter how thin you cut it, it's not just one skinny piece of wood. It's a whole bunch of skinny pieces of wood all stuck together. It's a lot more stable. It's a lot stronger. That's good. That's good. Now I can move on. And there it is. Now, in this case, I was able to get some blind nuts on. So these are not jack screws. I was able to get a nut and lock washer on from the top and the bottom by reaching up in the little hole there. Now, this on here is going to give me exactly what I'm looking for the side trim against the window. And that's excellent. So now it's a matter of figuring out how that's going to work up top. So I'm going to get a scrap piece of wood just to make a pattern with, just to see how it's all going to play out. I think it's important right here to say that everyone's van's going to be different, and the way you treat yours, your windows is going to be the way you want to treat your windows. I'm doing it this way. I'm going to share that with you. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments below, and I'll do what I can to help you out. But it's I want mine to be this way. This is the way I'm going to approach it. The one thing that I've noticed when I was looking at the videos last night, though, was I should have mentioned I painted the corners black. Because as the trim comes together, you'll see there's going to be a little exposed panel there. And I had thought about trying to sculpt some round piece of cedar into each corner. I thought, you know what, that's just going to take forever. And everyone will be different. And I just don't want to do that. So I painted it black. Hopefully that'll be the solution. If not, I got a plan B. But anyway, that's why those are painted black. Now we'll move forward on the window above. So we're back at it now. I've got the two pieces assembled for this return. And again, this is unique to my building. Everyone's going to do it their own way. I've had a fair bit of machining to do to make this thing fit, but I think it's going to. Let's just have a try here. It's a little bit of a challenge to get in. Whoa-hoo! Holy cow. Well, that is pretty ding-dang too. That's fantastic. I'll be able to pull that up tight, and that's good. And the bottom piece will go on here like this. There. There, let's just take a look at that. So we have the bottom piece. Nice and neat across the face, and the top piece is looking pretty good too. I'll be able to hold that up snug. That's gonna look okay. So now I'm gonna fasten it. I got fastening at the front because I know there's wood there. I put it there. I'm also gonna draw a couple down from the top cupboard as well. Super. Now this is the very typical pain in the neck kind of a piece of wood that you're going to try and fit into the van, and you want it to look nice. You want this part to look really nice because it's what people are going to notice looking out the window. And everything about this piece is unique. It's not square, it's on an angle. It's going to meet, it's not straight up and down. The van is on an angle. The van's leaning one away from us. We established that already. So it's going to be two crazy cuts. We want it to be nice and tight at the bottom and nice and tight at the top. How do you do that? Well, it couldn't be easier, to be honest. You just take a piece of scrap wood that's the same size as the piece you want to finish with. Hold it where you want it to go and slide it down until it touches at the bottom. And you'll see there's a space at the bottom there. Now, if you wanted to, you could scribe that with a scribing tool, same as we've been scribing all over the place. You could do that if you wanted to. But we know this sill is flat. So you can just take another square block, set it there, and just draw the line. And that'll give you the line you need to cut to make that bottom tight. Do the same thing at the top. Again, it's opened up here. Just take a block, hold it up against it, mark the line you want to cut, and cut it. Once you've done that, you end up with a piece of wood that gives you a beautiful joint at the bottom. Slide it up and you get a beautiful joint at the top. It's just what you want. So all we have to do now is fill in the wood in between. It couldn't be easier. Trace this cut at one end, measure the length of your board, trace this cut at the other end, it should work perfectly. Let's give it a try. Got this side finished off. It's going to look great. I still have it's going to be really finicky to put this return, cut the return back on. That'll be the next step. But first, I want to do the other side. And I'm going to do it a little bit differently, just to show you another way. If you've gone out and picked up your sliding T-bevel, less than $10, you just need a piece of wood that you're going to use for that place, and a piece of scrap wood that's exactly the same size. Hold this piece up where it's going to go, like so, and I hope you can see this. Then you with your sliding T-bevel, and the secret of the sliding T-bevel is to have it snug but not tight, to have it set just about the right, close to where you think it's going to be. Snug but not tight. Hold this piece in place, put the T-bevel on the line, and slide it down until you get the angle that you want. Now, I'm going to play that back and see if you can see it. If not, I'll change the camera angle. And then you transfer very carefully that mark onto exactly the same place. Same spot. Very, very carefully. Okay. Then we do the same thing at the top. Hold this the way it's going to go. Take your T-bevel. I want that a little bit, stick it a little bit further. I want to have it sticking out almost the full width of the board if I can. Okay, line it up. I always try to make it so it's not even close, and then as I get closer I can see it working. That's going to be a bit of an issue there. Okay. Good. That's my top angle. Now the question becomes, where does the top angle go? How long does the board have to be? So you just simply measure from one end to the other. And that's 23 inches. Okay. Well, let's have a look, see how this is going to work. Oh, beautiful. This has turned into the one of those deals where you say to yourself, I can't believe I started it this way, because it's turned into such a chore, but when it's all done, it's going to look spectacular. So I have the piece for here. This is it. I have this piece here. And now what I have to do is I have to make the return from this piece to the gable end, just to close in that corner. Now, the challenge with that is this. This piece is leaning in. It's also tipped this way. It's off on two axes. And it's not going to be, because the van body isn't symmetrical, it's going to be wider at the top than it is at the bottom. It's not going to be just a straight 3-inch wide piece of wood. It's going to be, it has to go from this corner to this corner. It's going to change shape. That's something that I can fix. I'll show you how to cut a piece of wood like that. Also, though, I want to miter this outside corner so that it looks in keeping with the rest of the joinery in the place. And that's going to be a bit of a challenge. First thing I have to do is find out what the angle is, because it's not going to be a 45-degree angle, because it's not going to come together like this. It's going to come together more like this, because this piece is tipped in. It's not straight up from the window, it tips in. So the way we're going to figure out what that angle is, again, using our trusty less than $10 sliding T-bevel. And this is an amazing tool. The sliding T-bevel is just, I should do a whole video just on it, because it's just, for what it costs, it's just amazing. So we take a piece of wood and put it where this one's going to go. Take another block of wood and put it about where this one's going to go. And what I want to try and do is I want this corner to look like it's almost square. Let's see here. I want the corner in the panel, where the panel meets the gable, to look square, come out, and then return to the window on a different angle again. So these are the two pieces. T-bevel up against the wood. And that should do it. Now, there's going to be times during your build when you're going to have to make a really odd piece of wood. It's just the way it works. The walls are crooked, the ceilings are crooked, nothing comes together square. So there's going to be times when you're going to have to make a piece of wood that may have four sides, but none of them are parallel to each other. If you have a shop full of all kinds of fancy equipment, well, that's wonderful. It's good for you. I don't. I have a table saw and a drill. That's what I'm doing that's what I'm doing my whole build out of. A table saw and a drill. So I want to show you a duplicating fence. A duplicating fence is a very simple accessory you can build for your table saw out of scrap lumber, and it's absolutely priceless. And there is the finished corner. I've got to tell you, things started falling together so well, I forgot to turn the camera on for the last couple of cuts, but it was really simple. With that duplicating fence, putting this corner on was easy. I measured the angle. The miter turned out just nice and tight, but it's not a 90-degree angle. It tips this way. It tips this way. It meets in this corner. Hopefully you can see that. It meets in this corner at what appears to be a 90 degrees. It's not quite 100%. Coming across the top. Now, these are all face screwed. You may be able to see some plugs. It's all screwed really tightly. This other side was just a mirror image of the other one. Same skills, same practice. You'll notice the black corners worked out really well too. I was happy with that look. Be sure to watch the video on the duplicating fence. If not for this operation, then for something else. It'll save you a lot of time and a lot of money. Be sure to watch part 1. It's very important that you watch them both before you start. I'll include a link to the vinyl panels. Happy with the way they turned out. And the whole cabinet. Really pleased with it all. Hope you're finding this useful. Give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. And be sure to stop back.